What's good? Welcome back to the Pop Up Podcast, a conversation show about Paul Thomas Anderson. Upcoming feature film, One Battle After Another, is releasing in 2 days' time when we're recording this. My name is Ralph Compiano, and I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Barter, aka Carter Ferryman, and we are going to essentially rank Paul Thomas Anderson's films, all 9 of them that have come out over the last 30 or so years. And we're going to kind of give a suggestion or a vibe, if you will, based on whether or not you've seen the movie. It doesn't matter. I think that this pod, what it should do, Barter, is it should encourage the people who haven't watched them to watch them if they're so appealed to do after listening to us talk about them. I think that we should do a larger conversation about him first, because I think the interesting thing about him is that, you know, we live in an age where the auteur, the genius, is really valued in this space. You know, you think of guys like Christopher Nolan as kind of a blockbuster version of this. People go out to the theaters to see Oppenheimer. You think of Martin Scorsese as this, which he has gained over the last 55, 60 years of filmmaking. And because he has classics like Goodfellas, which everybody knows and loves, and other movies like, you know, even Killers of the Flower Moon, Taxi Driver, whatever it might be. People know Scorsese. They don't know that name. And then the other person I think of that is most parallel to Paul would be Quentin Tarantino, because they're around the same age, and Pulp Fiction is kind of the movie that changed movies. It's the movie that changed a lot of people's perception of what movies could be upon its release in 1994. And I think that those two have a very interesting, not rivalry, but a parallelness to them. When you think of Paul Thomas Anderson, what is kind of the first thing that comes to mind for you? Is it a specific movie? Is it a sentiment? Is it a reputation? What do you think of when you think of PTA?
Without a doubt, yeah. So when I think of Paul Thomas Anderson, I think of an artist who straddles the line between popularity and pure creativity. What he's able to do with the pen and the camera is off the charts. I guess my comparisons would be more in the music space. I'm thinking Chris Stapleton. I'm thinking Kendrick Lamar, artists that are so immensely talented with what they do, but have also been able to, you know, break into the more chart-topping hits, right? Now, there are a few films that we're going to discuss today that are a bit more in the niche realm, but, you know, I think the film that is coming up here on September 26th, September 22nd, One Battle After Another, that's by far his largest budget, right? $250 million, I believe. And I don't think he's ever surpassed 50 or 60 million. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he is able to do on screen with a budget that size. Paul Thomas Anderson, to kind of sum up what I just said, conjures a feeling for me. Every single one of his films give me a sense of contentedness that I don't get with many other filmmakers, if any, especially my favorites, which we're going to get into at some point. But he's just beautiful, man. And there is something for every single person on this planet on this list. 9 films. We are going to find something for you, the viewer, that you are going to love.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that there is something for everybody, because, you know, revisiting them, and I think I've always known this, but especially now after revisiting them over the last couple of months, you know, when you think of like a Scorsese, like you think of Goodfellas, Casino, Wolf of Wall Street, they all share very similar themes, tones, vibes, senses of humor, and it makes sense. You can draw a through line from one movie to the next with him, whereas with PTA, every movie is entirely different. Like, I think you could probably draw a parallel from Licorice Pizza to Boogie Nights and kind of the setting and some of the found family aspects and love and all of those kinds of things. But There Will Be Blood is an entirely different movie than Inherent Vice. Like, they could not be on more opposite ends of the spectrum as far as what feelings and emotions he's evoking while you're watching it. And I think that's the other thing that's always going to stick out to me about him, is that when I was originally getting into movies like deeply, I think that, you know, I remember watching Pulp Fiction in high school and being like, fuck, like, oh, I've never seen anything like this. And then it wasn't until college that I got to really watch PTA for the first time. And one of our friends, Hato, showed me Boogie Nights. And I had that same feeling that I had in high school after I watched Pulp Fiction. And it was like, oh, there are other people like Tarantino out there. Like I didn't realize that. I didn't know that they were coming up at the same time. And he just does such a really cathartic job of illustrating humanity. Like I watch his movies and I feel seen. Like I feel like he's taking these things in the back of my mind that are practically impossible to articulate and he's showing them on the screen with performances, and he's getting the best performances out of these actors too. If you go through Mark Wahlberg, Don Cheadle, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Joaquin Phoenix, Julianne Moore, go down the list of the people that he's worked with, I think he's getting their top performance out of all of them. And that's why I'm so excited about One Battle After Another is what's he going to get out of Leo? Because my favorite Leo performances have come from Marty and Quentin, right? Like Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is bar none my favorite performance of all time. I'm reserving a spot because I know what PTA is capable of getting out of actors, and this marriage between the two is something that has been brewing for a really long time. We'll talk about Boogie Nights, but one really fun fact about Boogie Nights is that Leo was supposed to originally be Dirk Diggler instead of Mark Wahlberg, and he chose Titanic over it, which makes sense, right? That's a historic movie, an absolute blockbuster by definition. But I just think that's such an interesting film with him in it. I don't even know if it's a better film necessarily. I think Wahlberg's perfect for that. But those are just what come to mind when I think of PTA. And I think above all else, it's something that like, you know, I have a girlfriend, a mother, a father, a brother, and they all have not radically different tastes in movies, but because of my relationship with each of those people, my understanding of those people, if I were to show them a PTA movie for the first time, I would have a different movie for every one of them, and they would all be absolutely floored by it. And I think that's what's so special about him is that anybody in the world, you can show them a Punch Drunk Love, a Hard Eight, a Boogie Nights, a Phantom Thread, and it fits different seasons, it fits different timelines, it fits different areas of people's personalities. I just think he's really special in that, you know, I appreciate the fact that one thing is unlike the other. I think that's where the Kendrick comparison is really interesting because Good Kid, Mad City and Tip and Butterfly are two radically different projects, right? Even Kanye to an extent, like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy versus Graduation or Yeezus, like there is that in there, and that's what I appreciate.
Kanye is a great point because, like Kanye or like PTA, Kanye is able to bring out the most in his features. I go almost instantly to Rick Ross on the song Devil
Yeah.
in a New Dress, right? Actors that, you know, have always kind of fit a mold throughout their professional careers, Adam Sandler, John C. Reilly, Mark Wahlberg, right? You know, people may not have seen these films that they are in with Paul Thomas, right? But like the performances that they put on are just so special and so wildly different. Now we got the Uncut Gems performance out of Sandler, which I think is the only other one that you can categorize with Punch Drunk. That's kind of like a duo. I actually think they're best watched together because of the anxiety element of them. But yeah, no, these are all special films, and I'm excited to dive in.
Okay, so I think we'll go from bottom to top. He has 9 movies thus far. One Battle After Another will be his 10th film. So we'll go from 9 to 1, and with each one, I want to complement it with that vibe. So I'm curious where you fall on this, but at number 9, I have it pretty clearly at number 9. I do have Hard Eight.
Yes.
Hard Eight is his debut feature film starring Philip Baker Hall, Gwyneth Paltrow, Samuel L. Jackson, Philip Seymour Hoffman in a terrific, you know, very short cameo.
Come on, Sister Sledge. Yeah.
But I think what's so amazing about this is you think about the timeline of his life and when he made these movies. I mean, he was like 24 years old when he made this. That's unbelievable to me. I'm 27 now. I cannot imagine being in charge of a feature film. So
makes me feel like a bit of a loser.
100%.
Right,
you think about him making Boogie Nights at the age that we're at right now, and that's just preposterous. But for Hard Eight, I wrote, if I want to watch a debut film that feels like someone sneaking an ace out of their sleeve when they need it most at a poker table, it can be quiet, it can be classy, but with hidden power. What should I pick? Well, I think you should probably start with Hard Eight. I think that's a good area to start. I would never actually encourage anybody to have that be the very first movie that they were to watch. There's other movies that I would put ahead of that, but I think it's definitely, it warrants a watch. Absolutely. Like it's going to be, you know, out of all the other junk that you're watching, it's going to be better than that. It's just at the bottom of his.
Absolutely, yeah. So just a bit of a backstory on this film. It was actually an expansion of Paul Thomas Anderson's short film that he made in college. I think he went to Emerson, maybe? Emory, one of those two. One of the liberal arts schools that starts with an E. But he made a short film called Cigarettes and Coffee in the year 1993. Not a very long one, but essentially what it is it is a sit-down conversation between the two main characters that would end up being Philip Seymour Hall and John C. Reilly at a diner talking, and that's it. And this is a much larger expansion of it. I think it's just under 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the only film that he's ever made that takes place in a casino. So if you love that casino vibe, if you love the Vegas, Reno, kind of slime ball aura that comes with films like Casino or The Card Counter, right, which is a Paul Schrader film, this would be a good one for you. Like you said, I don't think it should be the first film that anybody watches if they've never seen a PTA film, but it's great. One performance in this movie that I want to highlight would be Paltrow as Clementine. I think she's fantastic. There's one scene in particular that kind of becomes like one of the marquee signature techniques of all of PTA's films, where like a third of the way through you get a moment that's like a following shot or a tracking shot that is so wildly intense with like the best song that you have ever heard, and
Yeah.
score or like soundtrack, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's great. Philip Seymour Hall is beautiful in this film. I think he has better movies, but it's a great debut for a whole bunch of up and coming actors. Samuel L's got a fun little, I don't want to call it a cameo because he's got a couple scenes, but he's got a different look in this movie from almost any other film that he's done. Like he's got a bit of hair in it for starters. Yeah, no, it's a fun film. It's been a long time since I've watched it, so I can't comment too much on it, but the Philip Seymour Hoffman cameo special, that might be the best scene in the movie. And it kind of personifies the entire theme of the film, just the angst and the tension and homelessness and really gambling it all. Just on something as trivial as craps, right? Like a very simple game where you sit on the pass line. It's a good movie. Like 6.5 out of 10, 7 out of 10?
I mean, I'd say higher than that. So like I think most of our audience probably has Letterboxd, so I thought it might be helpful just to say it's 3.6 stars on Letterboxd.
Perfect.
The kind of bio for it is nice and sweet, and it can maybe buy you in a little bit. It's if you stay in the game long enough, you'll see everything, win everything, and lose everything. A stranger mentors a young Reno gambler who weds a hooker and befriends a vulgar casino regular. That's another element to PTA's movies that I think that I just really appreciate, is that they are vulgar. Like he's digging down into the dirty depths of humanity, and he's going to, talk about porn, and he's going to talk about prostitution. He's not shying away from these subjects. But I think the Paltrow point is so interesting because like you look at the cast just from a, 10,000 foot level, and you see Gwyneth Paltrow and Sam Jackson, and then you see Philip Baker Hall, John C. Reilly, and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Baker Hall. Sorry.
No, you're
I
good.
think I was maybe seeing Philip Seymour Hall.
You're good. I think it's so interesting the troupe that he kind of chose from this to install in other movies, right? Like if I were to look at those 5 people, I think Paltrow and Samuel L. Jackson are the biggest celebrities out of those 5 people. But I think he's interested in the performances that he's getting from these other 3 people because he hasn't worked with Paltrow or Jackson since. He's worked with Phil Baker Hall, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and John C. Reilly a shit ton since. So I just think that's really fascinating. All right, number 8, and this might be where we disagree. Just given, your kind of disposition and where you live and who you are and the things that I think that maybe if I had seen this at a younger age when I was a little bit more under the influence, it might be higher on my list. But because of who I am now, relatively sober, most of the time, probably like 98% of the time, I have Inherent Vice at number 8. So Inherent Vice came out in, I believe, 2014, whereas Hard 8 came out in 1996. And with Inherent Vice, this is, I wrote it down. I think this is a good place to start.
Yeah, so I can say something on it first if you want
Go
me
for it.
This is the only other film that is adapted from a Thomas Pynchon book, right? So for those of you who don't know, the upcoming film is based on Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. This is based on a book of the same title, Inherent Vice. Pynchon and PTA are actually quite similar. They are really wacky, and they lean a lot on their stupid or brilliant, lovable characters. Every single character in this book, I actually had the fortune of getting to read through it this past year, and it took me a while because it's dense, thick. It is a thick boy, Ralph. It's like perfect for PTA because every single character is so wildly compelling, and that's what drives the book forward.
I think this is perfect. I actually had a little bit of help with this one too. I did some review reading and I was like, all right, let me emulate this. If I want to get lost in a hazy stoner detective story where the plot is smoke slipping through my fingers, but the vibes are immaculate, what's the move? That's when you light up Inherent Vice.
Gotta be.
I think that's the issue that I had with it at first, and I think a lot of viewers might, is that we watch so many detective dramas nowadays. I mean, there's an entire podcast genre that is specifically dedicated to, serial and things like that. And people love listening to that. I love David Fincher movies. Those are essentially, detective movies a lot of the time. And I think that's what I wanted from Inherent Vice. But what I failed to understand early, and I think I'm getting a better grasp on now, but I'm still struggling with a little bit, is looseness of it. Like, it is completely fluid. Like, you have to give yourself over to this movie and completely give up on trying to solve it because it is intentionally baked and half baked at that. It's like, we don't want you to think of this as you are Doc. You are helping Doc solve this case. We just want you to vibe with Doc, who is, a PI who has no official legislation whatsoever. Like, he's completely elected himself into this role. He gets paid for, paid with sex and different things. Like, he's not your traditional private investigator. This is a guy in the 70s in California who's just vibing his way through. He has a long lost love and he's trying to find her. And that's really all it is. It's relentless. It's intentional and unintentional at the same time. And because of this paradox, I seem to struggle with it sometimes, but I still, when I do find myself being able to give myself over to it, I'm in love with it because it's the prettiest thing, right? Like, all of his movies are absolutely gorgeous, mostly shot on film. More radical performances from this. Probably my favorite of Owen Wilson's career. Josh Brolin as Bigfoot is one of my favorite characters ever. It's just a brilliant movie, and I still seem to struggle with it.
It's got one of the funniest short scenes of all of PTA's films, and that is it actually involves, and like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but it involves a frozen chocolate banana.
I know you're gonna, yep.
Yeah. I think that you nailed it down perfectly. The tough part of this film, and this is a film festival film, if there ever was one from PTA's catalog. This and probably Phantom Thread and The Master. Those three are his, I don't want to say toughest watches, but like the most film, like when you think about the word film, these are the three, right? Like, they didn't get a giant release. They didn't have giant budgets. But this is a fun movie. And yeah, you said looseness. I'm going to go back to that. Yeah, this thing does really bounce all over the place. For being a detective film, it is truly stoned. But like the soundtrack and then the voiceover that's like constantly happening that I think are actual excerpts from the book. I'm curious to see, because most of Pynchon's books are very loose and, widespreading, and they cover a vast area. I'm curious to see, if one battle is as loose as this film. Joaquin Phoenix's Doc Sportello is one of my favorite lead actor performances out of any of PTA's films. And then this film also lays claim to my favorite title sequence of all of PTA's films, mostly because of the song. Tarantino's credited with being the best at the needle drop, right? Putting a specific song in a specific scene and like really bringing it to a new height. But the song Vitamin C by Can, which is like a German krautrock band with the Japanese singer, just like the wonkiest shit. Like, it's very drum forward. It sets the scene because like the weirdness of that band, when you really break it down, is the weirdness of this film. Like, they run parallel and it's great. So you have it at 7. I think I have it
at 8.
8. Like, it'd be 7 or 8 for me. The one that I'm flip-flopping it with, I think we're wildly different on, and we'll talk about it at some point.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's got to come in it's got to be in the bottom 3 of his films. It's a great movie. What is the Letterboxd score?
Letterboxd score is 3.6, and the bio for it is love usually leads to trouble. In Los Angeles at the turn of the 1970s, drug-fueled detective Larry Doc Sportello investigates the disappearance of an ex-girlfriend. Very simple. I will say that this is a longer movie. This is 149 minutes, and it's streaming on Prime Video right now. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's a good watch. Yeah, I think that I think as I continue to grow older and I continue to mature more and more emotionally, or maybe become more immature. I'm not sure which way I would have to go to appreciate this more, but I would understand somebody having this toward the top because it's so unlike anything else I've ever seen. Not that his other movies aren't, because they're all unique in their own ways, but I think that this is probably the black sheep even of his filmography.
Yeah, I mean, this and Hard Eight having the same score is wild to me. I think it's a better film just in almost every way. I think it's one of Martian's favorites by him.
Oh, totally. That makes a lot of sense. We literally call him Martian.
Yeah.
All right. Number 7, and this might be where we disagree. And this is tough because now we're getting into a territory where, I've seen Hard Eight probably 3 times, and then here Vice probably 5 times. I think actually from maybe 5 to 1, I've seen all of those movies like 15 to 20 times, and then these next 2 probably 6 to 7 times. At number 7, I do have Punch Drunk Love.
Okay.
Starring Adam Sandler, which is just fascinating in its own right. I think that this might be the movie that I'm most happy for him having made because, it's coming at a time of his life where he's falling in love with Maya Rudolph, who is his now wife, former star of Saturday Night Live. It's short, it's sweet, it's 96 minutes, but this is what I wrote for it. If I want to see Adam Sandler weaponize his awkwardness and humor into something tender, terrifying, and somehow romantic all at the same time, where do I turn? Because I can't turn to Billy Madison. I can't turn to Happy Gilmore. Well, what is there for me? Well, there's Punch Drunk Love. And I think that is, you and I have different preferences as far as anxiety levels during a movie. I think that I can stand it or tolerate it or even appreciate it for like 7-minute segments. But when it's the foundational feeling of a movie, I think that's where I start to stray away a little bit more. And every time I watch this movie, I think I'm on the verge of a panic attack. Like every single time. When we're in the warehouse and he's making the calls and he's on the phone, it's damning and it's challenging, but I fucking love it. And just the entire like premise and plot of this movie relying on a pudding packaging prize, I just find absolutely audacious and relentlessly creative, and I'm so appreciative of it. But again, it's like choosing between your favorite kids at this point. It's
It is.
difficult. So I have it at number 7. I'm curious where you would have it.
Top 3.
Nice. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
This is where so where I think we're very different is this is where I would have Phantom Thread. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's where we differ because that's for sure in your top 3, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, sorry to spoil it, but
No, you're fine.
yeah, no, it's this movie. Yeah, like I said, it conjures a feeling, and I love movies that make me really anxious the whole time. That's why I love the softies. That's why I love some of the Coen brothers films, like some of the faster paced ones. Lots of his are slow, Big Lebowski, films like that. But then Miller's Crossing, right? It's like it is very intense, and it's what I love about films is if you can keep that feeling going without truly overwhelming most people who sit down to watch it. I think that's a beautiful thing. Adam Sandler's Barry Egan wearing the blue suit the entire film. He's got on one outfit the whole time. It is absolutely brilliant. This character is like the maximum definition, like the epitome, I guess would be the right word for it, of one of the recurring themes of PTA's films. And I think that is that there is like either like a stoned or dumb or confused male lead, right? Who is trying to figure out something about himself, right? And we are there on the ride with him. Who's his co-star in this movie? She's fantastic.
Oh my God, I can't believe I forget her name. I have her right here. Emily Watson.
Emily Watson playing Lena Leonard. Yeah, it's great. brought up the opening scene in the, well, yeah, no, not the opening scene, but it's maybe 15 or 20 minutes into the film. The warehouse scene is great. And I think the I think the soundtrack is by John Brion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is very Johnny Greenwoodish, who is the most re- recurring collaborator as far as scores go with PTA, where like it's a lot of clanging and banging and mostly percussion, and it's meant to get the heart rate up. Uh, this is an odd film too. It is. I like. I don't think that this would be the film that I would tell people to watch if it came
No.
up PTA, because right off the bat, like the scene where he's in the corner on the phone, and then he goes out and there's the piano out in the street, and then the car crashes and it's all this weird shit. It's like, I think that might turn like a casual movie watcher off of this film pretty quickly. But just the fact that it's an hour and a half, I plead with people, please watch it all the way through. This is a great story about love, and very confusing love, with a killer soundtrack, some like fun little cute cameo performances that aren't star-studded, but yeah, it's just a fantastic film.
Might feature the best phone acting of all time from Philip Seymour Hoffman, where he's just telling him, shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
What's your name, asshole?
it's
Barry Egan.
and it belongs to a different time too, right? Like it belongs to the phone sex generation, which I doubt anybody utilizes anymore because they have other outlets for that. Like now you go on Omegle or OnlyFans or something like that. But it's very 2002. And I think what's so interesting about it too, Barter, is that I'm looking just at the list that I have here, and he's really got like 4 or 5 movies that are very, 1 to 2 to 3 maybe character centric, where he's really digging in on them. Like There'll Be Blood is about Daniel Plainview, and there are people around him. He's the heliocentric offense to it. He's James Harden on the Rockets and Luka on the Mavericks, and everybody around him is just kind of revolving. And that's not the case with a Magnolia or an Inherent Vice. Like he's sporadic and he's spraying, or even Boogie Nights to an extent. It's like he's spending time with other characters. With this, he's spending so much time with Sandler, and there's a great interview or press conference. I think it was at Cannes, maybe the film festival, where they're asking him like, why Adam Sandler in front of Adam Sandler, and he just says something so sweet and simple, and he just says, because he makes me laugh. And I think that that's what's so endearing about PTA, is that I think he does care what the audience feels and likes, but he's more concerned with what he likes, and he's going to make what he thinks is good. And this is the first turn of the page for Sandler before he started working with Noah Baumbach and the Safdies and people like that, more serious roles, where it's like, you're talking about this character that PTA is so good at writing and exemplifying, of this male lead that is just like a shaken up soda bottle waiting to explode. Like he can't get everything out, even though he wants to so bad. And there's those moments of eruption that we've seen with Sandler across the rest of his comedies, like a Happy Gilmore. And he utilizes that so perfectly here, where he's using it at the right moment. But you can just tell that he's like literally a fucking Diet Coke with Mentos inside of him with the lid closed. And then you're just waiting for that thing to pop. And when it does, it's so satisfying and so funny and so like damning too. It's like, oh, fuck. Like, we all really are just kids waiting to have a temper tantrum at some point, because not all of us explode. Some of us do. Some of us hold it in. I think I probably fall into the latter category, but God, there are times where it's just so cathartic to watch Adam Sandler absolutely blow the fuck up.
Without a doubt. Yeah, no, just one more thing quickly, and then we can go on.
Yeah,
This is a great film. If you're thinking about getting a therapist, this is a great film to watch, and then calling a therapist almost instantly afterwards, because like I saw parts of myself in the main character of this movie. It's also the only one that has act breaks, and it's like you're inside of a kaleidoscope, and you've got these really dreamy John Brion soundtrack scores, and like this isn't a psychedelic film by any means, but like those parts really are like a whiff of coffee grounds for the film, which is odd for a film that's only 96 minutes long. So great film. Check it out.
Okay, next at number 6, I have his longest movie to date, which is Magnolia. This is a sprawling epic with definitely a top three favorite performance of mine ever in Tom Cruise as Frank T.J. Mackey. I think it's the best performance of Cruise's career. This
Seduce
is
and destroy.
the one I most recently rewatched, and I just had so much fun with. But what did I write up for this one? Okay. If I want to see a movie that feels like the emotional equivalent of 12 fireworks going off at once, overlapping, but somehow creating one beautiful and chaotic sky, what should I watch? That would be Magnolia. So this came out in 1999. I think that's notable because that's a big year for movies. That's been well documented and written about. Like, Fight Club came out during that year. Eyes Wide Shut came out during that year, and this. This is also, him coming off of Boogie Nights, which was a massive success. And I don't think he anticipated it to be as successful as it was. So he kind of went a little bit, I'm not going to say egomaniacal, but he's feeling himself with this one. And it's clear and it's evident. And it's
PTA put his cock on the table with this
cock
movie.
on the table, like just like Dirk Diggler at the end of Boogie Nights. No spoilers, but I mean, this is literally like, holy shit, like it's happening. Like he's really trying to do all of these things at once. Like it is audacity personified. I mean, you have John C. Reilly, you have Tom Cruise, you have Philip Seymour Hoffman, Julianne Moore. I mean, I'm missing half the cast, but William H. Macy, um, fuck, Melora Walters, Jason Robards as Earl Partridge is unbelievable. It's just an unbelievable cast. It is a whole 3 hours long. You feel every minute of those 3 hours, and it is pure chaos. Like this was one that I think as I get older, I'll love more and more. I loved it on my first watch, and then I read some things about it, watched it again, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely amazing, but okay, this is a lot. And now I'm kind of returning back to a deep love with it.
PTA was doing a lot of cocaine when he created this film.
A lot of cocaine.
He was dating Fiona Apple, and Fiona Apple very famously was quoting saying that the night that she quit the drug for good, she was trapped in a movie theater with PTA and Quentin Tarantino for like 6 or 7 hours, and they just talked and talked and talked and geeked out on film. This and Punch Drunk being back to back for him, they're his second and third films, I believe. Yes, second and third films is insane because we were talking about films that really contrast within his filmography. These two couldn't be more different. This movie has the biggest cast of any that he's ever done. It's got the best laughing sequences. It's got the best crying scenes by far. It's so fast and the camera moves so quick in it. And for this to be 3 hours long, it doesn't feel like it. I don't think it drags at any point in the entire film. We're following 4 or 5 storylines. Yeah, it's about the worst in people. And I don't think that you get that from many of his other films. Like we've got faith over profit in some films, and we've got love in other films, and we've got religion in other films. This is just about the worst in people, and it really gets, biblical at times. It's his most meta film by far. I said that Inherent Vice had my favorite opening scene. This one does. This is just fantastic. Like this is the movie that I do show to my friends that I know are into films but haven't seen much of PTA's work. This is the one that I show them. Like if they're prepared to sit down for was like 3 hours and 8 minutes, 3 hours and 9 minutes, if they're prepared to sit down and watch, this is the one. The soundtrack is great. It's by Amy Mann, who's another fantastic singer-songwriter. I actually think she was like friends with Fiona Apple at the time. 2 of the foremost female singer-songwriters of this period, turn of the century. John C. Reilly's great. Philip Baker
So
Hall
good at
is
this.
great. William H. Macy, who plays Frank in the show Shameless, is great. The kid whose name that I forget is great. It's huge and colossal and fast are the 3 words that I would use to define this film. I think that this should be, if you're getting into PTA's work, this should be one of the 3 first films that you watch.
I would agree.
I think that it is his Tenet, but it was done so much better, right? Tenet for Christopher Nolan was like him putting his cock on the table and saying like, look at how insane and how wild I can get. This thing is a monster. And I think it deserves a watch and then a second watch. And it's the only one that I own on DVD too. So, yeah,
4.2 stars on Letterboxd,
that's
189 minutes.
this
Things
is
fall down.
this is such a letterbox film.
100%. Yes, this is when you meet like a hipster girl at the dive bar, and you've both had 5 Jameson and Cokes, and you ask her what her favorite movie is, Magnolia's going to come up.
Great night, by the way. What you just described sounds like such a great night.
That's your vibe.
Yeah.
So the Letterboxd bio for this one is: things fall down, people look up, and when it rains, it pours. On one random day in the San Fernando Valley, PTA's home, a dying father, a young wife, a male caretaker, a famous lost son, a police officer in love, a boy genius, an ex-boy genius, a game show host, and an estranged daughter will each become part of a dazzling multiplicity of plots, but one story. Yeah, brilliant movie. I don't want to say too much more about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but definitely worth a watch. I think Punch Drunk Love, we didn't mention that one. That was 4.0 stars on Letterboxd. So
that's probably what I would
he's a
guess.
very Letterboxd director, and I'm self-aware of that. But all right, at number 5, and I was shocked I had it this low after my rewatches because this is one of my. That's the other thing. It's like, when I constantly am manicuring and editing these lists that I'm obsessed with for some reason. And, I have my 100 favorite films of all time list that I'm literally adjusting like every, I don't know, once every 2 weeks, maybe more often than that. These next 5 movies we're going to talk about are all firmly in the top 16 to 17. Like, they're easily top 20. Number 5, I do have Licorice Pizza, which is his most recent film. Came out in 2021. So he takes his time between movies. Again, we mentioned Hard 8 came out in 1996. This is his 10th movie since then. One battle after another would be. So that's essentially a movie every 3 years. So he works at his own pace. And Licorice Pizza was, how do I say this? A breath of fresh air. It came, closely after COVID, and a lot of movies got pushed back due to COVID. And so this theater experience was really special to me because I was going to the theater a lot at this time. Like, I'd say twice a week almost, if not more. And it got to the point where it sort of lost the magic. And the theater was such a dependable activity for me, an experience that I could rely upon if I was having a bad day. All right, I'll go to the theater, I'll catch a movie. And yeah, I just got to a point where I was going twice a week and wasn't really moved. I remember actually a Joaquin Phoenix movie in black and white, Come On, Come On, was one that I saw in the theater. I was like, I should like this way more than I did, but something in me is numb. And then Licorice Pizza came along, and it kind of revived that in me. It was something that I was like, okay, I can still be surprised. I can still laugh my ass off. I can still be moved to tears damn near, even though I don't cry a lot during movies. And I can be like genuinely shocked by a performance, because the thing about this movie is that, there's a lot of, I was in a stage of my life where I was following movies as they were being produced. I wanted to know who was casted where, who was playing what, all these kinds of things. And it was announced that Cooper Hoffman, the son of PTA's frequent collaborator and one of my favorite actors ever, Seymour Hoffman, was going to be the star of this movie. And I was immediately anxious because I was like, that is a lot of weight on a kid's shoulders for his debut in acting in a movie to be the star of the new PTA movie. And not only do you have Cooper Haim in his debut, you also have, or Cooper Hoffman, you have Alana Haim, who was a member of the band Haim. She plays Alana Kane. Cooper plays Gary Valentine. And I was completely stunned. So much so to the point that I think I saw this 4 times in theaters. I took a new person with me every single time. I wanted them to love it more than anything after they walked out of the theater. And I think all of them did. And it's just a beautiful love story. It is certainly controversial, which I understand, but I think that's absolutely intentional, as is every decision that he makes. And then you have guys like Sean Penn, who's amazing in this. Bradley Cooper with one of my favorite quote unquote cameos ever as John Peters, Barbra Streisand's former boyfriend. Benny Safdie, Skylar Gassando as Lance is absolutely brilliant in this. And then I'll let you take the floor to talk about your favorite role player in PTA's filmography.
Yeah, this is my favorite cameo of any film that he's ever done, and it is Tom Waits playing Rex Blau, who talks like this, right? You know, that steak can wait, that dinner can wait. We gotta, yeah, like it's just this voice that is so beautiful. And it comes during my favorite scene in the entire film, which is the motorbike jump scene over the bridges of Tokosan with Jack Holden. It is it's a performance that's only 5 or 6 minutes long on screen, but like it's something that I'm never going to forget, and like really cemented for me just how special PTA is as a filmmaker, being able to bring in someone who's not an actor. Tom is a singer-songwriter from the 60s and 70s. Just to, you know, really deliver the 10 or 11 lines that are unforgettable. This movie is the most Grand Theft Auto film of any that he's made. And what I mean by that is it is centralized, much like Punch Drunk, around one or two characters, two in this case, but every single cameo, every single scene is like its own little side quest, if that
Yes.
makes sense, right? So you have the one where you're in the acting office with the woman who tells Alana Haim that she has a very Jewish nose, right? And then you have the scene with Bradley Cooper, which is just fantastic, where it is like a following shot of him just like frantically pacing back and forth at his house. And then you have the scene where they're in the truck that's freaking rolling down the hill. And you've got the scene where they open up the pinball parlor and the scene where they sell water beds. And it's just like one
Soggy
after
Bottoms.
other. Yeah. So, Soggy Bottoms, which I think was supposed to be the original
Name.
title for the film. This is also in my top three. I have not watched it in a while. Like you, the first time that I watched it was in theaters, and it's one of the only times that I've gone to the theaters with my brother. It was the day after Christmas. We saw like a 9:30 a.m. screening. We were the only two people there. And blew my socks off. Just a great film. And I've only seen it twice, and that's all I really needed for it to get into my top three. The needle drops in this movie and the pacing, and just like the love story, with like all of these characters and all these beautiful sideshows and supporting actors hovering around these two debut actors who just put on an absolute masterclass. Um, it is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's Grand Theft Auto. It feels like the golden age. And yeah, just, you know, going back to feeling, which I've said so many times, the feeling that it conjures for me, it is unlike almost any other of his films. There's only really one or two other ones that I would put above it.
It's so fascinating because it's like, you mentioned the side quest. I think that's so interesting because that's what it is. Because so Maya, my girlfriend, she hadn't seen a PTA movie, and this is the first one that I showed her. And afterwards, I was like, "Well, what did you think?" Or during it, I was like, "Well, what do you think?" And she said it's interesting, and I was like, "Oh fuck, god damn it, interesting is not a good adjective to apply to this." And afterwards, she did use the word love about it, which I was stoked about. Because it just is a movie that exemplifies love. It's like every stage of it. It's the very beginning when you see Cooper meeting Alana for the first time, and she's so clearly out of his league and way too old for him. But, you know, everybody's had that crush in their life where it's like they are unattainable in your mind, but you're going to do anything in your power to attain them, right? Like that you want them to be yours. And then there's just this tracking from that to, you know, these subtle moments. I don't want to spoil anything. It's so difficult, but like there is no story to this. Like there is no constant through line. It's just following two people, a day in the life or a few weeks in the life. You have no concept of time of how long this movie is going for and their time in the world. And then, yeah, you just have side characters popping up like Tom Waits, like Bradley Cooper, like Benny Safdie, like Skylar Casando. And every one of them is brilliant. And I think we should shout out John Michael Higgins, who plays a new sushi restaurant owner. Sushi was not popular at the time, and this is one of the controversial aspects of the film, but one of the hardest I've ever laughed in a theater. Like absolutely fucking roaring.
When
And I
he's
think I
talking to
got
his
some
wife, right?
yes, I think I got some dirty looks after that, but it was fucking funny. Okay, so if it's funny, it's funny. God damn, I just fucking love this movie so dearly.
It's a
It is
great
brilliant.
film, and yeah, no, like the unattainable crush is a really good point. Like the poster for this film is literally Alana Kane holding Gary in the palm of her hand, right? Like it couldn't get, and then all these like small little circle bubbles surrounding them. It's like like the entire premise of the film and the way that it progresses takes place on that poster, and I think that's very cool.
So this has a 3.6 on Letterboxd, which is
Wow.
the lowest, I guess, other than Hard 8. And it is the story of Gary Valentine and Alana Kane growing up, running around, a lot of running in this movie, and going through the treacherous navigation of first love in San Fernando Valley in 1973. Yeah, I mean, they sell waterbeds. They have a pinball store. He's a hustler. He's like 16 years old in the movie. He's an actor. He employs his mom. He's a fucking stud. Gary Valentine is who I aspire to be when I grow up. All right.
One of the better performances out of all of PTA's films, which is insane because it was his first performance.
All right. Yeah. Now we're already in uncharted territory, but we just keep climbing, and it keeps getting more intense. I said this was going to be an hour. I should have known it was going to be longer than an hour because we're already 45 minutes in. At number 4, I have The Master. I think this and another movie we're going to talk about are his best movies. They're not my favorites. They're amongst my favorites, absolutely. But I have 2 other ones that I think they're my favorites. But I think this and another movie we're going to talk about, like if you were to look at any, Time, Rolling Stone magazine, top 100 movies of the 21st century, these are both going to be pretty much cemented in the top 5, top 10, if not the top 3, right? The Master is a movie about Scientology. I mean, pretty explicitly, but what I wrote down is if I want a movie that feels like watching 2 great actors / animals circle one another with each scene crackling with danger and need, which one should I choose? I would go with The Master. So this is like Licorice Pizza, a 2-hander between Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Philip Seymour Hoffman stars as Lancaster Dodd, who is a direct stand-in for L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. And Joaquin Phoenix plays Freddie Quell, who I can't remember if he's like a World War II vet, Vietnam, Korean War, whatever one it is.
World War II.
World War II veteran who is a drunk, like mixes rubbing alcohol into his liquor container to just find some kind of crazy concoction to drink. And it is about him essentially seeking the approval of Lancaster Dodd, who is leading a movement. And this movement is catching a lot of traction, a lot of steam. He already has so many followers, and he looks at Freddie as, his new puppy to an extent. And he wants to raise Freddie to become a man and to follow him in his footsteps. He has a matriarch in Amy Adams who is absolutely brilliant in this. I mean, I don't know what to say about The Master. I think it's probably the one movie of his that I think is the most elusive to me, where I don't know why this is what he made at this time, because it's after There'll Be Blood, before Inherent Vice, and it is. I get the Scientology metaphor. I understand all of that, especially with his working relationship with Tom Cruise. I find it even more interesting he decided to make this, but this is the one movie where it's like I could watch this 100 times and I'm never going to know why. Like, I have a pretty good idea of why he made every other one, I think. I have no idea why he made this and how he made it so brilliantly. Like, it's a perfect movie.
This and Magnolia, yeah, it's like Magnolia centers around the consequences of humans' actions from a religious standpoint, as it turns out. This is the forming and belief of like a certain set of like a forming and a belief of a dogma, followed by a true sex crazed alcoholic idiot, right? Who just plays his character so brilliantly on screen. The Master is the hardest one for me to put into words, but I'm going to try here. It is his hardest watch by far.
Yes.
I think
100%.
By far. Where Magnolia flies by for being 3 hours, this is also about 3 hours, and it is long. Like, it feels long.
Magnolia is more tangible, though. You can understand the story. It's simple. Like, each story, like, there's a lot of them, but like they all make sense. We've seen stories like that before. We haven't seen a story like this.
yes, this is a film about a dogma and a crutch, right? Finding a crutch in your life. Now, is that finding a crutch in people? That's what Freddie Quells believes, right? But that might not be the intention of the people that he is leaning on. It's his hardest watch. Lots of his hardcore fans, lots of PTA's hardcore fans say that this is his best film. Um, I I I
I don't
wouldn't.
totally disagree.
Yeah, like just in terms of quality and putting something on screen, there's a serious case to be made. It's got my favorite scene besides one in There Will Be Blood, which we'll be talking about coming up. That is one of my favorite scenes, not only by PTA, but one of my favorite scenes in film ever. And that's the screening scene between the two of them where they're sitting at the table, drinking, doing like the opening tests. That's a scene that I don't make my friends sit through this film. I don't think I ever have, but that's a scene where if I'm like sitting down with a friend, like, and we're stoned, I'll skip to that scene and just show them that because it doesn't, because it
You
doesn't
torturing
like
them?
spoil anything, but it's just like two of the greatest actors of our lives, probably in the history of the industry, staring into each other's eyes with microphones in front of them, glasses of this gross, vile concoction,
Smoking
just
menthols.
going off on each other. Yes, cools. Yeah, no,
I
this
think
is
it's so interesting you said you wouldn't show this to your friends because I did show this to my friends before I moved out of our apartment in Iowa City.
Did they have fun
So it was
watching it?
funny. We had 5 of us, like dudes, on the ground floor, and then right above us, like 4 of our best girlfriends lived right above us, and we were like, "It's movie night. Like we're hanging out, we're watching movies. We watched Phantom Thread and we watched this as a double feature,
Whoa.
which is crazy. We were kind of drunk too, and then the girls came in and they're like, "We want to hang out," and they're like, "Well, we just watched a movie we really liked in Phantom Thread. We're gonna watch another movie by this guy, and it's called The Master." And they're like, "All right, we'll watch it." And they fucking hated it. Like they couldn't
Yeah.
stand it. Now they're not movie people necessarily, but the dudes loved it. The chicks hated it. I think that this is kind of a dude movie. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
it's you mentioned the screening or testing scene being one of your favorites. One of my favorites is just the dinner, where Philip Seymour Hoffman calls a gentleman who is accusing him of, being a fraud, a pig fuck. Like my favorite line delivery ever. But I think that's what's so interesting about this is that he's so appealing and convincing and such a great salesman, Lancaster Dodd is, that you believe everything he's saying for like the first hour and a half. And then you slowly start to realize he's completely full of shit.
Which
Just
is
like an
all
L. Ron Hubbard was.
Scientology is. Yeah, no,
Exactly.
sorry if we have any Scientologists tuning into this podcast, but
I
like
don't think so.
he's the perfect manifestation of the, Church of Scientology.
But you see, I think that aspect of this made me more skeptical of everything else in my life. Like all these people who act like they have it figured out. I look at them and I'm like, you might just be another Lancaster Dodd. And just that delivery and that conversation, I think towards the end of the movie, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say this, but the movie's titled The Master, and Lancaster looks at Freddie and he says, if you figure out how to live your life without serving a master, then please let the rest of us know because none of us have been able to figure it out yet. And this idea of, employment in 2025, whether that master could be your alcoholism or one of your vices, whatever it might be. I just think that's such a brilliant delivery and scene. And this movie unlocked different things for me, which I'm so appreciative of. Again, it's that PTA is so great at articulating what's in the back of my mind and bringing it to the front, and then it just stays in the front for a while. Like I can't stop thinking about not just the movie itself, but the ideas that it's presenting to me. Yeah, man, he's the GOAT. Like
I think it's Joaquin Phoenix's most underrated performance.
100%.
It just doesn't get talked about. This or probably the movie You Were Never Really Here.
Oh yeah, the fact that he won for Joker and not this or that or Her or Walk the Line or any of those, it's like it's just it's disappointing.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're in the top 3 now. Is that
we
correct?
are in the top 3? Yes.
These are like I think you did a good job. There's only one out of these 3 that I wouldn't have in my top 3, I believe. Yes. one. But
Um,
there are two that should be cemented in every single person's top three, I think.
yes.
Oh.
Now with these three, like I said, like, you know, ranking these 9 is like ranking my children. I had a not easy time putting, you know, Inherent Vice at 8 and Hard 8 at 9 and Punch Drunk Love at 7, but these 3, it's like ranking triplets. Like if we were to have kids tomorrow and I was literally to have triplets, it'd be like ranking them. At number 3, I have Phantom Thread. Um,
Yeah.
any given day, this could be number 1. Daniel Day-Lewis in what was originally his last role as an actor before he signed on and acted in his son's debut feature film, which I'm thrilled to see. Playing, yep, playing Reynolds Woodcock, who is a designer in London in the 1950s or 60s. I can't recall exactly which. And this is really toxic of me to say, but this is the one person I've ever seen on a screen that I feel like most resembles myself, which is fucked up because he is so specific and annoyable and easily agitated and childish that it just, I felt seen again. So it's, let's see if I can get this right up. This one was hard. If I want to watch a movie about the resilience of love, the tediousness of humanhood, and pretty pictures, what should I watch? Start with Phantom Thread. This is just like a cozy cup of tea for me at this point. Like, I understand that, you know, that anxiety we talked about with Punch Drunk Love, that being the foundation. I don't think that's the foundation of this movie. I think the foundation of this movie is beauty, because it is, there's no such thing as white in this movie. Everything is cream colored or pastels. It's very like, the color palette of this is most resemblance of like a Grand Budapest Hotel or another Wes Anderson movie, where it's just so easy to look at and soft and gorgeous. But the performances are hard. Like Daniel Day-Lewis is hard in this movie when he's eating his you know, strudel in the morning, and he looks at his sister, Cyril Woodcock, who's just another one of my favorites, played by Leslie Manville, and he says, "I cannot begin my day with a confrontation." I'm just like, fuck, like this guy's just, he gets it. He gets me. And it's a love story at the end of the day about a waitress, Alma, who Daniel Day-Lewis's Reynolds Woodcock has been a self-proclaimed bachelor for his entire life, and he finally falls for the one, and he's trying to prevent himself from falling from that one, but he just can't help himself. And then there's a preposterous twist that I genuinely never saw coming, that I think only benefits from rewatching time and time again. And it's just, I'll never forget the first time I saw the twist, because I was watching with Hato. It was just me and him in our living room in Iowa City watching this together, which is so romantic. And we looked at each other like, is this really fucking happening right now? Because we had been on a PTA binge where we're watching all these movies and we hadn't seen this one yet. And it's like, he's really going for it, man. And it didn't make as much sense to me at the time, but now it does. It really does. And it's, yeah. Is that scary to you that I see myself in Reynolds Woodcock?
I don't think so. No, I just haven't watched this. I've only watched this movie one time. This is
the rewatch.
this is
It's
the
crack cocaine.
see, this is the movie where you and I differ the most, and I'm gonna chalk it up to an experience on my part, not having watched this movie more times. Um, the color palette was a very cool point that you made. The beiges and the creams and the chartreuses and all these beautiful colors. I think that's intentional because the entire film, Woodcock creates dresses, right? And he creates really extravagant outfits for socialites and celebrities in the London area.
He's Versace in London at this time.
Exactly. And so I think that that was intentional because much like the dresses that he creates, he's got all these swatches in his studio, right? And like that is the film. Those are the colors. Vicky Krieps as Alma Elson's just fantastic. Maybe the best supporting role of any of these films, period. Like she's so fucking good. It's insane. This is my favorite score of any of his films by Johnny Greenwood. Guitarist, bassist, human fucking genius, Johnny Greenwood of Radiohead. The old, like, I've spoken about my favorite opening scenes by him. I feel like this is probably your favorite opening scene of any of his films. That
Yes, because of
song,
the score, because of
that
House of
song
Woodcock.
played just like pounding into the piano and just like seeing the true order of things, how he chooses to comb his hair and how he chooses to shave,
The
and
socks.
all of like the maids and his employees, right, coming up the stairs at the same time saying the same thing to him.
Cyril opening the door, and it just
Cyril opening the
reveals this
door for
world.
him.
Yeah, and I love the point that you point out the score because, yeah, I think there was like a 6-month period, and this wasn't even that long ago. Like this is well after I'd seen the movie for the first time. It's probably 2 years ago now, where I literally woke up to this song every single day. First thing
House
I
of
did,
Woodcock.
House of
Yeah.
Woodcock, every single time.
Uh-huh.
That and For the Hungry Boy, like those will both be played at my wedding, guaranteed. Like wife is walking down the aisle to one of those two, dog. I swear to
Love it.
God, it's either that
Yeah.
or Runaway. Like you take your pick, but you got, it's multiple choice here. Fill out which one you want. Yeah,
I feel wrong for not having watched this movie again. I remember giving it a really harsh score. And I think I attributed me falling asleep the first time that I tried to watch it. I think I blamed it on the film and like not the fact that I was very stoned. Yeah, like I think that that was the problem. So I need to
but
go
it
back.
does
That,
have that element to it where it's like I think of
like
this
you
movie as
said, it's a
comfort food
cozy cup
now.
of tea. Yeah,
Yes,
like it's a cozy cup of chamomile tea that might make you, you know, fall asleep. So that's what I'm gonna watch following this podcast, I think,
and
because
I'm
I would,
jealous. I wish I
yeah,
could too. This is like one of those ones where this is really this is a test case for me. Like if I show this movie to somebody and they don't like it, I'm not going to look at them entirely differently, but I'm going to look at them differently. Like if
do you
Maya
want to know
doesn't
what's
like this movie, we're going to have issues, like serious issues.
do you want to know what's crazy is I don't even remember what the twist was. So this is gonna be like a first watch.
What's so brilliant. And yeah, I mean this like I've had movies like this. So like in my room I have a TV as most people do. That's not fucking nuanced to say, but um my Xbox kind of stopped working. Like I can't watch streaming services on anymore, so I just have to use it as essentially a glorified Blu-ray player. And so I have kind of been rotating in and out the movies and that for like the last what? I think it's been essentially since like the first of the year, let's say the last 9 months. And it's pretty much only been this or The Irishman, and I fall asleep to one of those two movies every single night, which is kind of ridiculous. So like I can poke in and out of this movie. This is one of those movies where I think I've said this on a pod before. I know I've said it to people before, but my dream, I'll know I'm satisfied in my life, I think, when I have a house, and in my house I want to have a room, and in that room I want to have a big recliner only for me, and I want to have a big TV. And on that TV I want to have a constant loop of 4 movies just playing. So that way if I'm ever having a bad day and I'm in my house, I can open the door, go sit in the recliner, and then just walk in to wherever that movie is. I don't have to start from the beginning. I can just walk into a scene and just live in it for a little bit. And those movies are Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza, Boogie Nights, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I'm in Hollywood, yeah.
Like it's just those movies, and they're very comforting to me. So
Once Upon a Time would also be on mine. Yeah. That
uh,
one's super easy.
we'll have a different
We
conversation
aren't
after you
talking about
rewatch it. I want you to once you rewatch it, I'll tell you something that I found interesting about this. All right.
I promise you I'm gonna watch it tonight. There you go.
Okay, number 2. So,
I'm curious to see which you have a 2 and which you have at 1.
so there's 2 movies left, and I think the 2 movies that are left are Boogie Nights and There'll Be Blood. And at number 2, I do have There'll Be Blood.
Okay.
So this was like the master. I was saying I think these are his 2 best movies. Boogie Nights is my favorite, and maybe that's because it's the first one that I watched that I have this nostalgic relationship to it. I think if I point blank period had to watch a movie any given night, I might go with There'll Be Blood actually, just because I think it's more interesting. But Boogie Nights is just so much fun. So we'll do There'll Be Blood first. At number 2, There'll Be Blood from 2007. This could be a 4-hour long conversation here, but we talked about the master. If you were to look at again any movie list from whatever source that you want. This is going to be number one on like every single one of them. So you have to watch it at some point. This movie is about America. This movie is about greed. This movie is about selfishness. It's not about sex, which I don't think it might be in some cases, but it might even be about abstinence to a degree or impotence. It's about family, I guess. It's about oil. Um, and it's like the furthest thing from love I've ever seen. Like love is almost completely absent from this movie. This movie is starring Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview. He is an oil man. He has a son and a partner, H.W. Plainview, who I don't think it's a spoiler to say because it happens in like the first 10 minutes, is necessarily adopted because one of his employees dies in like essentially in
Oil rigging accident.
It also stars Paul Dano as both Paul and Eli Sunday.
God.
And it stars a number of other people, but this movie is, I think what attracted me to Tar so much was it was like the closest thing that I ever got to There'll Be Blood, as far as I love geniuses. I have an obsession with them. I think that's why I like Paul Thomas Anderson so much, is because I consider him a genius. He writes his movies, he directs his movies. They're all coming from his mind. And he has collaborators, of course, but you know, they're largely coming from one person. And that's what I loved about Tar, was it was about a person like that and Lydia, and Todd Field was that for Tar. That's what Daniel Plainview is in this. He is a genius. He's a mad genius, though. It's the old Kanye line: name one genius that ain't crazy. And again, with Reynolds Woodcock, the other Daniel Day-Lewis performance in PTA's filmography, I struggle, but I see a good chunk of myself in Daniel Day-Lewis as far as envy and resentment are concerned, and he articulates those so well. I'm thinking specifically about the scene where he is with his quote-unquote long-lost brother in front of the fire, and he looks his long-lost brother dead in the eyes, and he says, I have a competition in me. I don't want to see anybody else succeed. I hate most people. My goal is to make enough money that I can get away from everybody. And there's like a part of me that's true, which is, I relate to that, which is fucked up. And I realize that because I do love people to an extent. But that envy and just that pure animosity and selfishness and greed, I hate to admit it, but I do relate to.
Mm-hmm.
This is go ahead.
In the year of our Lord 2025, you kind of have to be that way. The job market is so competitive. People are hopping on top of each other. It plays directly into this film. I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna go on a tangent about this film because you know this is my favorite film ever made. So I'm gonna let you finish.
And I think any day it could be mine too. It's just, you know, I think this is the pinnacle of his career as far as filmmaking and writing are concerned. You know, he's getting the number one, like when people say Daniel Day-Lewis is the best actor of all time, it's because of this movie. I think you can make an argument that it's because of like The Last of the Mohicans or Gangs of New York and his performances in that. This trumps all of those. Like,
not even close.
Even when you think about like Michael Corleone and The Godfather, like this is firmly in that territory. It's just, it's so lived in and real, and you feel like it's a fucking documentary, and somehow it's a performance, and I don't understand how it is. Obviously DDL is famous for his method acting, and it fucking pays off. Okay, not everybody can do it, so don't give me the other people bullshit that did method acting, like Pete Davidson as the Joker. Fuck all that. Okay, or Jared Leto as the Joker, I think it was. That's bullshit. This is what it looks like, and this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is just, yeah, I think this is the best movie I've ever seen. Point blank period. It's not my number one favorite. It's like 4 or 5, whatever. I've seen a lot of movies that I really love, but yeah, we rewatched this Friday night, and it was just as arresting as the first time that I watched it. And you cannot say that about other movies. Like,
you want to know why that's so crazy too? Because there's not a word of dialogue for the first like 25 minutes.
It's unbelievable. I think it's like 12 minutes, but it feels like an eternity. Like
it's like you're watching like a Charlie Chaplin film. It's so good. It's so good. It's like what they do on screen. Okay, I'm just gonna go with this one. There Will Be Blood, like I said, is my favorite film ever made. It's been that way since the first time that I watched it, like 2019, 2018. So I was kind of late to the party, roughly a decade after it came out.
We were 9 years old when it came out. I think it's okay.
Yeah. So probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. Maybe I would have. Maybe it would have changed the trajectory of my life. I don't know.
Maybe you'd be an oil man.
This movie is about it is, in my opinion, it is the great American film. Not a great, the great American film. It is about capitalism and it's about greed. It's about manifest destiny. It's about our country being torn down and built up at the same time, right? It's about the beautiful American homestead being turned into a market. It's about money's infinite clash with religion, specifically Christianity, which has been something that has been going on since the beginning of time, since the freaking Roman Empire, right? Church and state.
Since Judas.
Yes, truly. It's about a vampire sucking blood, oil out of the ground, hence the name There Will Be Blood. This movie is Kerouac, it's Cormac McCarthy, it's Hemingway.
It's literally Upton Sinclair.
It's loosely based on the book, very loosely based on the book Oil by Upton Sinclair. They're like, I thought that it was going to be easy to wax poetic about this movie, but it's tough to put into words with how I feel about it. I've only watched it like 3 times, and that's all that I really needed for it to just cement itself so far above the number 2, which would be like Napoleon Dynamite, Nebraska, movies like that. It's just like the setting of it. I love movies that are in open space, which is actually the title of the opening track on the Johnny Greenwood score for this movie. Films that are shot in our country in like wide open space. Midwest, even though it's in California, it feels that way because that is essentially what it was at that time. It's about a sociopath. It's about doing whatever it takes to absolutely dominate anyone and everyone who comes in your path to the absolute maximum, and it boils over at the end. It's got, next to Phantom Thread, one of my favorite scores ever by the same freaking guy. I said that the screening scene might be my favorite scene of all time, next to another scene, which is the first oil rig explosion, where you have the clanging, banging, almost like tribal drums. And there's that shot where he's running from the rig all the way back to like the camp that they have.
THW.
And that is like, that'll be cemented into my head forever. Like this movie is so spectacular. It is a masterclass in pacing. It's a masterclass in like one central. This is one of his heliocentric films, really, with a very strong supporting role
100%.
in Paul Dano. But it's like just when you think things are starting to get calm, and it feels very calm because of the setting, it pulls you back in with like a wildly intense moment. You have the church scene. You have the scene where they're, the rig exploding.
I mean, even I Drink Your Milkshake, like the actual climax of the scene coming at literally the very end of the scene. I think this is an interesting thing to consider. I don't know how I'm going to be able to articulate it, so help me out here. This came out in 2007. The Wolf of Wall Street came out in 2011. And you say the great American film, and I completely agree, and here's why. The Wolf of Wall Street, I think, is a great, again, test case to have a good understanding, especially of dudes, of like, all right, what do you think of Wolf of Wall Street? Do you love that movie? Yeah, we all love that movie. Okay, great. Why do you love that movie? And they're like, because Jordan Belfort's the coolest fucking person I've ever seen. Is he? Is he really? Did you watch the whole movie? Did you skip the last 45 minutes? Scorsese does this thing in Goodfellas. He does it in Wolf of Wall Street, where the first hour and 45 minutes, largely the first 75% of the movie, is a glorification of what happens when you do as little work as possible and get the most financial and sexual and status gain in return, right? Like it's guys trying to do as little as possible to get as much as possible. And again, it's a glorification, right? Like it's, okay, I'm going to take all the drugs, I'm going to get super high, But then he's giving you in the last third that Greek tragedy of, all right, this is the downfall. But when you're watching Goodfellas, you want to be a part of the mob. When you're watching Wolf of Wall Street, you want to be working with Jordan Belfort up until everything goes to shit. When I'm watching There Will Be Blood, I never want to be Daniel Plainview. There isn't an ounce of me that is jealous of him and his role in the world and what he's accomplishing, despite all of the money that he's making, right? Even if he's like, having bits with Standard Oil and he's talking about goat's milk and steak and he's yelling at them drunk. There's no part of me, like, he doesn't glorify that at all, which I find so fascinating because it's still, despite that, just as entertaining. And I think, the celebration and glorification of things is typically what we associate with entertainment. But with There'll Be Blood, it's a condemnation the entire time. Like, he's showing you what it is. These are the facts. This is objectively how he is. You're going to fucking watch it and you're going to love it. And you're not going to love what he's doing. You're not going to be jealous of him at all, which I think is a large part of, again, the success of Wolf of Wall Street and Goodfellas. But does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the climb to the top between the two movies. There is a very succinct climb to the top, but they're done in very different ways.
100%.
Right? Plainview, starts in the dredges of the earth. Literally, he starts 20 feet underground, right? And we see someone who will indubitably work harder than any other person on this planet, right? To get what he wants. And that might not even be, that for sure isn't sex, that isn't status, right? It might not even be money. It is literally just to dominate, right? It is just to dominate. And he gets all these things because he is pumping all of this oil, right? But it's his motivations are so wildly different from the Tarantino characters that you just, spoke about. But there is a succinct rise to the top there.
That's fascinating because there's a moment, and now we're just talking about the movie and we're kind of responding to things, but he's with his brother and they're swimming and he's like, let's get liquored up and take him to the Peachtree Dance. And so they go to the Peachtree Dance. And I think at that moment in the movie, Daniel was like convincing himself, hey, I have my quote unquote, again, long lost brother, and we're going to go to the Peachtree Dance and I'm going to be a normal person. I'm going to talk to a woman. And not only am I going to talk to that woman, I'm going to have sex with that woman. And what does he do instead? We just immediately flash to him drunk in a corner, staring with such intense hatred of this man that he was just celebrating with. And it's like, oh, so is his impotence the root of this incapability to be satisfied? Like, I just think that there's so, like, this is the biggest onion of a movie that you can peel back so many different layers and discuss it so many different ways, and it's endlessly fascinating to me.
And that's crazy that you say that because I also think it's a wildly simple film.
It is.
like it's, yeah, no, there are
he likes money, he uses oil to make money, and he hates people.
Yeah, like I don't want to say the human condition because I think that's like a cliche played out term, but looking into like the deepest, darkest impulses of what it takes to be great, like he is that on a pedestal in front of thousands, and he will destroy everything in his path, and like it's one path the whole film, truly. Like there is no swerving. But like you said, looking a little bit deeper into the subtext and peeling back the layers of this film, you get a window into the brain of like a truly broken but brilliant man. And it's just these two working together, PTA and DDL. We aren't ever going to get it again, but it will never be lost on me.
Yeah, I don't know who the director and actor now or in the next 50 years would be that could replicate something like this. Like, I think that our best chance would have been in the previous century with, maybe a Taxi Driver, like, or The Godfather, but it belongs in the conversation with The Godfather of like the greatest American movie ever made. All right, I think we did enough on There'll Be Blood. I literally want to rewatch it now. I think it's so fascinating that you've only watched it 3 times because that's like, you have this like stance on it or approach to it that I think is so interesting, where it's like, you have the best restaurant in the world next door, but you've only been 3 times, right? Because you want to
That's it.
savor each trip to it. I think
That's
that's
it.
so interesting because, like, I'm the kind of guy that's like, oh, I'm going to eat there 10 times a year. And this
I
is
think I
another one of
will.
those movies where it's like, I think of a few movies like this where I'm like, I have to rewatch this once a year. No Country for Old Men's another one. So I think people can Google the story between those two. I don't have to talk about it here on the pod, but that's a fascinating one.
Those two battled for film of the year. Yeah, same
Well, it's
year.
just, I think it's quick. I can do it here. So it's 2007. You have the Coen brothers who made No Country for Old Men, and Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson, and with There Will Be Blood. And they were both made not only in the same year, not only in the same state, but in the same city, Martha, Texas, small city in Texas. And they were Martha, Texas. The oil rig explosion that we discussed earlier, he didn't do that with CGI. He did that practically. And you'll see it when you watch the movie, but an oil rig explosion, there are residual effects to it, right? Like that smoke doesn't disappear after just a little bit. That thing is out of there, like out there. Okay. So the smoke was in the air for so long that No Country for Old Men actually had to stop filming for 2 days. And since I've been in this kind of video production world, that's what I do for my full-time job as an account manager. That's expensive. That's especially for fucking No Country for Old Men. That's probably at least, I don't know, just estimate $800,000 each day is probably $400,000 for a production day for those guys. And so he cost them a lot of money. So they retaliated by booking all of the hotels in Martha, Texas, for like an extra 2 weeks. So that way the There Will Be Blood crew had to stay elsewhere and make it less convenient. So just a fun little rivalry there. And then ultimately, No Country won Best Picture, DDL won Best Actor. Think the Coens won Best Director and PTA won Best Screenplay. So they kind of split the awards, but the Coens got the big ones.
Rightfully so. Well, yeah, no, that it.
Yeah, if you like No Country for Old Men, that's fine. But I'm a There Will Be Blood boy.
Yep, me too.
And I love No Country. Another top 20 movie. All right, number one. I'm almost exhausted after the There Will Be Blood conversation. I don't feel like I'm able to give this one the
man, I'm
credence it
fucking
deserves.
sweating
But
right now. I'm sweating, and I have the AC at like 66.
There Will Be Blood has a 4.5 on Letterboxd. That has to be like
it's like top 20 narrative features on the entire app, I think.
All right, number one, I do have Boogie Nights. This was the second movie that Paul Thomas Anderson directed. Came out in 1997. This is about a young man named Eddie Adams who lives in Torrance, California in the mid 70s. He is a 17-year-old barback at a bar. The bar is owned by Luis Guzman. And Eddie Adams has a python for a wiener. It's just a baby forearm hanging right around his groin area.
Dick.
And Burt Reynolds discovers him, quote unquote, because he goes to that bar often with his wife, I think, or girlfriend, Julianne Moore. And he hears some stories about Eddie Adams and how he is so famous around the area for having such a big wiener that men that I imagine aren't gay, I don't know why they're doing this in the first place, but will pay him $5 to look at it and $10 to watch him pleasure himself. And when you tell somebody that your favorite movie is Boogie Nights and they ask what it's about and you say it's about porn in the 1970s in California, they look at you a little bit crazy. Trust me, I've experienced that a lot, but this is my favorite movie of all time. It's my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It's a perfect movie. It is it's so interesting. We just talked about The Wolf of Wall Street and how that compares to There Will Be Blood, because Boogie Nights is probably the most reminiscent of Goodfellas or The Wolf of Wall Street. It is awfully indebted to Martin Scorsese and his films. It is the pinnacle of glorification and celebration of bad habits, being addicted to sex, being really good at sex, loving drinking, the rise to fame. I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is indebted to this a bit, at least on the Sharon Stone front in that movie. But yeah, you watch Eddie Adams, aka Dirk Diggler, become the most famous porn star in the industry, and then you watch him fall from that height that he reaches. This is my favorite cast of all time by like a country mile. John C. Reilly stars in this movie as his best friend. He plays Reed Rothschild, who is maybe the funniest character ever when they're making a margarita and they're meeting for the first time. And He tells
Big
people that he
budget.
looks like Han Solo. Like, I'm just fucking. I mean, Burt Reynolds as Jack Horner, Julianne Moore as Amber Waves, absolutely brilliant. Heather Graham as a character who is literally called Roller Girl. I don't even remember her real name.
She's great in that too.
Don Cheadle as Buck Swope, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Scotty J, and perhaps the most cathartic performance of his career. William H. Macy as Little Bill, Thomas Jane as Todd Parker, Luis Guzman, Melora Walters, Ricky J, Nicole Ari Parker, Alfred Molina, and maybe one of the better climaxes ever, Philip Baker Hall as Floyd Gondoli, who is my Twitter profile picture. I do feel good about having this at number one after talking about it a little bit more, because it's just when people ask me, like, all right, we're about to watch this movie, like, what do you think I'm going to think? And I tell them, the first 90 minutes are the most fun you're ever going to have. Like, this is a party. Like, enjoy it, dance, stand up and move if you need to. You don't have to sit the entire time, but buckle in for the last 45 minutes to an hour, because it gets pretty intense and pretty dark. So it's the brightest thing I've ever seen. It's the darkest thing I've ever seen. And it's number one.
It's my big dick, and I want to fuck, man.
I know
This
fucking
is
karate.
Yeah, dude. This was the most recent movie that I watched of all of his, or rewatch. I've seen this one almost as much as any of his films. I think like maybe 6 or 7 times. It's huge, especially for like not a debut feature, because that was Hard Eight. But going from Hard Eight, which feels so small in comparison to this film, to this is just spectacular. This film marks itself in my brain on like specific scenes. So the firecracker scene, of course, the first porn shoot where there's that shot where they're zooming in on the camera looking back, and it's the camera being manned by Ricky J's character. And then like Burt sitting in the chair, and he's like, we got to get more film. Yeah, like we got to get more tape. It's this film does a brilliant job of jumping back and forth between endlessly fun and like wildly serious moments. And I think that's what makes it special in my eyes. This is
Who's your favorite performance in the movie?
I think Julianne Moore as Amber Waves is especially in like the second half of the film when like things are falling apart. I just think she's so good.
Unbelievable.
And is just like a beautiful poster child for addiction and vices and growing old, quote unquote. It's just fantastic.
Can I highlight one moment that I think when I originally watched it, it solidified it as like, yeah, this is the one. We talked about needle drops earlier, and it's such like a bold decision to put God Only Knows by the Beach Boys in your first like real studio movie. But it comes in at the end of the film, and I want to say they're right back to back sequences, shot scenes, whatever you want to call them. And one of them is Buck Swope, Don Cheadle, with Melora Walters, and she is having a child. And you're in the operating room or whatever where she's having that child. And the camera shows them, and then it pans to the left, it just tilts a little bit to the left. And then you see Scotty J, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, who has filmed almost everything the entire movie, and he's actually filming the birth. And you just see like it's just like a 6-second little clip. And that moment, I was like, I got chills. I was like, this just feels so real. These people feel so lived in. I feel like these are my best friends. Like, I genuinely do. Like, every time I rewatch it, I'm like, I know that person like the back of my fucking hand. And yeah, man, it's just like, it's just such a special, special movie. I do dread the darkness of it. Like, I think with There'll Be Blood,
Yeah.
like the darkness of that, I bask in a little bit more. I'm like, yes, like we're getting down, we're getting dirty. With
Well,
Boogie
it's
Nights,
because
I'm like,
it's the only mood of the entire movie, right?
and it's because
so
like I don't love Daniel. Like I kind of hate Daniel a little bit, but like
whereas
I
you
want to
love
watch him.
Eddie, and you love Reed, and you love Jack, and you love Amber, and you love Buck and Scotty,
Dude.
Little
Every single one
Bill.
of them. Every single
Little
one of them.
Bill.
I mean,
Fucking
yeah, the New Year sequence of Little Bill, like
oh,
that's gonna be another thing I just never forget. I mean, it's definitely his most perverted movie. It's definitely his funniest movie. I think Licorice Pizza might challenge that title, and we'll see what One Battle After Another does. But again, man, it's just I haven't seen anything like it. I'm waiting on the day that I don't think it'll ever come, but you know, a newcomer comes onto the scene, their first or second movie, and they just blow me the fuck away. This is one of those movies that I need to see in a theater before I die. The 30th anniversary is coming up in a couple of years, so I'm praying they put it back on a screen. If they put it on a screen within a, I don't know, 10-hour travel radius of me, I'll go there for the whole weekend. I'll see it 3 times in a row, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. It's that kind of movie to me. So
If
yeah.
the only theater that they're playing it in is in Seattle, are you going? The only theater
If I
is
have
in Seattle.
enough time in advance to know that, yeah. If I have to book like the week of, probably won't be able to just because of scheduling and whatnot. But if I do
That's
have
just
like, if I have like a 2 or 3 month heads up, yeah, I will. I'll go to Seattle. I've never been to Seattle. It's a worth it.
great city.
It's an excuse
Even
to go.
better film. I think it's very cool that our two favorite films of all time, each of us are 1 and 2 on this list. It doesn't surprise me, but man, now I don't know what movie. I told you I'm gonna watch Phantom Thread, so I'm gonna do that. But Boogie Nights is a special film, man. Like I've been harping on the opening sequences for all
Oh my
PTAs.
God, we didn't even
I
talk about
think
the
that
opening sequence.
so I think that the opening scenes, PTA is better than any other director in the history of film doing opening shots, and the long tracking shot on whatever dolly contraption he was able to create, or maybe like not even a dolly, maybe it was just like somebody walking.
I
It's
think it's a dolly, and I think it's like literally like 450 feet of track, which is fucking impossible. Like for a
and then the
27-year-old to
song,
pull off.
yeah, and then the song "Best of My Love"
Oh my
playing,
God.
and Luis Guzman
Oh
walking out
no.
saying, "How you doing? How you doing, buddy?
Oh,
Oh yeah,
dude.
yeah, nice, yeah, right.
You
Welcome,
got to put
welcome."
me in a movie. I'm going to be a big
Yeah,
star. Put me in a movie. Yeah,
it's
man.
yeah, no, and then like that first like pool scene where like he does almost the same thing with the camera and it goes underwater and then it
You
comes back
sexy
up.
thing. Bow, bow,
Oh
bow.
yeah,
Oh my
sure.
God.
And then yeah, like this movie might have the best camera work of any film that he's ever made, and it was his second film. Truly.
Yeah. I mean, it's, oh, dude. I might have to
Going
watch
back
Boogie
and
Nights
forth
tonight.
between like the grainy 70s camera where they're shooting the porn scene to like the high quality film camera where like you're watching the crew on the high quality camera, but then when they turn to the cast, it's like the 70s one, it goes back and forth, and like he walks through the door for his first ever scene, and that's like him being birthed into this life of stardom that he's always wanted, and him doing the fucking karate kick on stage and saying, "I just want to make, better and better movies for you guys," in his fucking Mark Wahlberg voice.
He's like, yeah,
Mark
this is
Wahlberg,
perfect. We can
like
go right into
we
doggy
haven't
from
even
here.
talked about fucking Mark. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. This is like, he has been in a lot of really bad movies, man. But this shit this was his first film. This was like his first debut feature. A movie of this size, yeah, she will always be a fantastic actor in my eyes purely because of this.
Absolutely. And we talked about the Leo at the beginning of the pod with One Battle After Another. I can't remember who it was one of the guys at the Ringer. I think it was Sean Fennessy or Chris Ryan, but they were like, it makes more sense for it to be Wahlberg than Leo, even though Leo is a better actor because you buy the idiocy of Wahlberg more, and that's so integral to Eddie Adams slash Dirk Diggler that he's a doofus. He's a doofus with a big dick, and Leo, like he just seems too intelligent. Like you wouldn't buy that idiocy quite as much. Like he either has to be literally Gilbert Grape or he has to be the smartest guy in the room. I think Rick Dalton is a blend between the two, but it's a different kind of idiocy than Eddie Adams. Like Wahlberg couldn't have been more perfect for this. It almost feels like he's making fun of Wahlberg sometimes in this movie, which feels a little bit cruel, but I think he has so much love for him. And then, I mean, we did talk about Burt Reynolds either, but the scene at the diner
The
where
king of cool, the king of cool,
coolest guy ever. And they're at the
Jack
diner and
Earl.
he's talking to Eddie. He's selling him on being in the porn industry. And he's like, I have a vision, and that vision is to make a movie that is so beautiful and so true and so pure that when they are in the movie theater and they pleasure themselves and they ejaculate, that afterwards they just sit in it because they're so enraptured by the story. And that is just, the stand-in for what PTA wants to do with his movie making. It's just so meta and so perfect, and fuck. Yeah, it's definitely number one, and There'll Be Blood is definitely number two. I feel really good about those two.
Okay, yeah, no, I would have them flip flop, but it's by a hair.
Okay, so just to
Yeah.
recount, at number 9, I had Hard 8. Number 8, I had Inherent Vice, which is confusing because Hard 8 is at number 9. At number 7, I have Punch Drunk Love. At number 6, I have Magnolia. At number 5, I have Licorice Pizza. At number 4, I have The Master. At number 3, I had Phantom Thread. 2, I had There Will Be Blood. And 1, I had Boogie Nights. So you would flip flop There Will Be Blood and Boogie Nights. You had The Master at 3 and Licorice Pizza at 4.
Licorice Pizza would be a 3. The Master would be at 4
And then Punch
for
Drunk
me.
Love.
Wait, no, sorry. Master at 5. Licorice Pizza at 4. Punch Drunk Love at 3. Boogie Nights at 2. There Will Be Blood at 1. And then the back 4, though, that we spoke on are pretty interchangeable for me. I've got Phantom Thread lower on my list than you. That is where
Not after tonight, you won't.
No, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's they're all beautiful movies. They are.
You know what? Finalize the list after you watch Phantom Thread, and then we'll release the graphic.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, we will. Yeah, that'll give the folks something to look forward to. Let's go.
So before we go, I do want to do this. One Battle After Another is going to be 10, right? That's going to be the 10th movie that he's made. So he'll have a clear top 10. With all of the hype around it, like my Twitter timeline has almost exclusively been One Battle After Another hype. I'm sure yours has been the same.
Spielberg said it's the one.
Where does it need to be in his top 10 to live up to the hype? Does it need to be top 5? Does it need to be top 3? Like, where does it need to be to achieve the expectations that have been set for it?
Legendary status. I don't think that 1 and 2 are ever going to move for us. So I'm going to say 3. If you and I come out of this saying this is his 3rd best film, like if this pushes Phantom Thread to the side for you, that'd be
huge.
That it's
if it pushes The Master to the side, or even like if it's better than Licorice Pizza, which I don't know, it can't. We'll see. I'm so thrilled.
I'm just so
and I've only been more excited because, like you mentioned, that that never clicked with me that he's the best at opening sequences. So now I'm even more excited just to watch the opening scene. Like that was perfect by you.
Well, I could tell you. And I don't want to be like the book guy, but I could tell you what the opening sequence is. It's going to be badass. Some good stuff. But no. It's going to be, this movie is, it's like 4 times the budget of his next biggest film.
Yes.
Which I'm very curious to see what he uses that. There are a lot of car crashes and people jumping out of cars in the trailer and lots of explosions. It's a movie about revolutionaries. And, I hope that this pairing between Leo and PTA it will never be as legendary as DDL and PTA, but I hope it's the next closest thing for us. It's like 2.5 hours roughly.
It could be 4 hours. I don't care.
Yeah, it's this movie's gonna be special. Like it's the best. Like it's got that Sinners type of hype where like everybody that I've seen on my feed that has seen it is like saying this is fantastic.
I love Sinners and fully anticipate this like making Sinners look like it's a little bitch. Like that's what.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, and the score is by Johnny Greenwood. Yep. There you go. So never missed.
So Greenwood did There Will Be Blood, Phantom Thread, Pieces of Licorice Pizza. He didn't do, he might have done The Master. I think he probably did The Master.
He also did Inherent Vice.
And Inherent Vice. Yeah, he's the man. All right. This has been my favorite podcast I've ever recorded. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
This has been great. Hey, hey, this is us waxing poetic about a patron saint of the Pop-Off Pod.
He's number 1. I've got the t-shirt on right now. I don't know if you even realized it, but it has the different aspect ratios. It has all the pictures on the back of the...
Shout out gibberish. This has probably been my favorite podcast too. This has been great. And for all the viewers at home, I don't know when we're gonna put this out. Probably on like Thursday. Release day or the day before. Yeah. Book your ticket now.
Book it now.
Do it. Do yourself a favor. We have been talking about what movie you should watch first from his catalog. Have it be this one.
Yeah, that would be fucking theaters, sick.
Support your local theater. Go to the theaters and watch this absolute mammoth of a film, and you're gonna come out and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna close the door to my bedroom and I'm gonna watch them all now. I fucking guarantee it.
Thank you, Barter. I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you dearly. Go see One Battle After Another. Go watch the other 9 movies and revisit this podcast if you need to have somebody talk you through it. We will see you guys on the other side, and we will be better for it. Peace out. It's my big dick, and I want to fuck now.